Yeah. How did we start getting into hardware? How did we go from not selling hardware to that being like a main part of our business?
It's our story. We have been a 15, 20-year-old business, and over the years, we have accumulated computers. That's how it started. We bought Macs, we bought Dells, we bought, some employee showed up sort of like unexpectedly, like a new hire. We might run down to our local office supply store and buy a computer. So we really had like a hodgepodge of computers that we used internally over the years that sort of accumulated and added up. Did you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so there was no consistency in the hardware. The software was all over the place, all different versions of software. Even the applications on them were all different places. And so, and again, that story I was telling you about, it's actually a story about Chris. We like to pick on Chris. I like to pick on Chris a little bit because
So do we.
Chris lives. I say he lives in the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. But Chris and I went to a client up in Virginia, and we were doing some work for him. And we sat down at the table, and Chris opened up his laptop, and the laptop was about that thick, and popped the screen open. And he was like in a panic because he really had like 10 seconds to get plugged in, and so he plugged in his extension cord over to some outlet that was over here, and it was like this cord that everybody was tripping onto when we were working with the client. And it was embarrassing. It really was truly embarrassing because it was like old school. It reflected an old company, like old ways, and I just didn't look right. And it was also, he wasn't getting his work done. It was like cumbersome. The battery kept dying. We couldn't pick up and move, probably need to be wired in. Probably the Wi-Fi didn't work either.
And all this time he thought he was better than us because he had a Mac.
Right.
Well, I don't know if it was a Mac. It was actually a PC, but
was it?
like a thick PC or something.
This was before he thought he was cool.
This was before.
Yeah. Even myself. I mean, I've used a Mac. I love the MacBook Air, the thin form factor. Look real portable. And so I used a Mac for years.
That was my first computer when I got here. When Doculix came in,
and I used I think I was even on the Mac OS for a while. And then we were a Microsoft shop, and I still ran Mac OS, and then I'd even run Windows on there eventually.
VirtualBox.
It really wasn't until a few years ago that we decided that, this is crazy. Having all this different platforms and different software and different computers. And the way, like the story about Chris about going to the client, is we decided to wipe out all the computers and just start over. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like a big investment, but you look at it, even if you finance something like that, it's like, let's just put all new computers in. So we did. We went out and bought all new Dells, right? Mm-hmm. Dell XPSs, I believe, which were at the time, and still is somewhat a very state-of-the-art computer, all portable, touchscreen, all these little cool things. And we just thought we were the cat's meow. And it did help a lot. We the productivity went up. Having dual screens and
that was
monitors.
The same time we went into Intune as well. So I mean Windows 10 Pro with that kind of really helped us organize.
Yeah, Intune having the ability to set policy on the devices, install software remotely, things like that.
We got our files in a SharePoint and divided it all up.
Yeah, that was another big thing. Is because we took our local file share and got it up into the cloud. Because I was frustrated because we couldn't. I'd be on my mobile device at home or somewhere and can't get the files at the office.
The groups drive in.
We'd have to VPN in. Yeah. Remember 4 or 5 different passwords that I could never remember, and it still wouldn't work. Yeah. So just sharing files or getting to files, it's just all cumbersome. So that was really our kind of embracement to 365 too, because I think we were on 365 before, but we weren't using all of those features.
Right.
And getting onto a platform where we could start really taking advantage of 365. I think that happens. I think a lot of our clients are like that too, is they're on 365, but the Microsoft Office 365 online goes by different names, but like we weren't taking advantage of all those features. So I think we lived with that for a while, and then what happened is the Surface. Surface is not something that everyone can sell. It's a very unique group of partners that can have access to Surface, and that was something we were interested in because customers come to us and say, what kind of computer should we get? Eventually, we got access and were invited by Microsoft to be a partner of the Surface. So go through certification and training to basically sell Surfaces. And I got a Surface, to try it out, see what it was about. And that sort of snowballed. What happened is like, God, this is a really sexy computer. It just looks beautiful. You're not looking at all the functionality yet, but just looking at how beautiful the thing looked. We decided that that'd be a great thing for sales to have, because if we're going to be selling Surfaces, sales should have a computer. So we got Surfaces for all the sales people here. And what happened is that was probably the biggest mistake we made, because then everybody else in the company wanted a Surface too, because they were just so much more sexier than the other computers that we had. So that the Surfaces rolled out across the whole company, right?
I can tell you who started it though.
Who's that?
You.
Well, yeah, I bought the first one.
Yeah, we would.
If you weren't looking at your phone and paying attention to the conversation.
Sorry, I'm still being a support manager right now, so I apologize. When you would walk around or go into a meeting or something, and we would walk by and see you on that, and then we'd look at ours and be like, "Oh man, yours."
Yeah.
Because you brought that in personally, and then jump started the whole thing, and everyone was just really jealous.
I mean, I think that's the thing we are, is we eat our own dog food. You heard me say that. People ask me, what does that mean? That's kind of gross. I've heard people say that too, but it's a Microsoft term. Actually, eating your dog food is like using the things that you create, the things that you make, the things that you do, is actually doing it yourself. I think Microsoft, being a software company, is a software company that does software for themselves first. It's like they're designing these tools, development tools, software applications, cloud applications, really for Microsoft. They're a big company. And then those things end up being in other enterprises that are like them. So in our case, the same thing is like, if we're going to put our name behind something, believe in something, we're going to believe in the things that we use. And so that's what happened. If we'd have found a different computer that worked better, that was sexier, had all those different characteristics, we would be using that.